As a token of appreciation, I'd like to present each of the team members with a copy of the following proclamation, which I'd now like to read into the record. Proclamation in recognition of the Norbrook High School girls basketball team for their New York State 2022 Class C basketball championship. Whereas the Norbrook girls basketball team was led by Coach Adam Peake, assistant coaches Don Hardenreiger and Jason Zmitsky, and team captains Madison Hardenreider and Ella Wilson. And whereas they went into the New York State Class C basketball championship and prevailed with great effort to win against Newark Valley High on March 20th, 2022, with a score of 55-46. And whereas we recognize not only the athletic director, the coaches, the team captains, and the entire team for their outstanding performance, it is fitting to also recognize the community as a whole for supporting our local high school sports programs. Now, therefore, I, Tim Colopy, Mayor of the Village of Norbrook, along with the Village Board of Trustees, who hereby recognize the Norbrook girls basketball team for achieving victory in declaring March 20th will hereby be known as Lady Blazers Day in the Village of Norbrook. In witness where I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the Village of Norbrook, New York to be affixed this day in May 2022. It is signed by myself with a key that really doesn't open up anything.
Give it a shot.
And now, the assistant of the deputy mayor and trustee Herzog, I'd like to give each one of you a copy of this proclamation. So if you please help me hand me that. And would mind just stand and introduce yourself? I appreciate it. Which way do you do it? Let me start with Coach Pete.
You guys could introduce yourselves loud enough so we can pick it up on the microphone.
Yeah, bring them over here.
If you bring them around so they when they introduce themselves, they're on the
Okay,
microphone.
fine. Why don't you each take one, just rotate through. What, you got some? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Adam Peake, head coach of the basketball team. Really nice to get rewarded for the success on the court. But the best thing about this group, and I tell people that all the time, is if you look at their grades, GPA is the highest of all the teams, pretty much anywhere. They've gotten a few awards for that, sportsmanship, and they're better people. So I appreciate all the support from everyone. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. I really like these jackets, Coach. These are very nice.
Thank the assistant coaches for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, here you go. Thank you very much. And Mr. President and Madam Superintendent, can I give you also a copy of each?
Thank you, Tim.
Congratulations, to you too. Congratulations, Laura.
That's very good.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you, everybody.
He's here, I didn't know where to go.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm gonna say everything all over.
Who's that?
Is it Emma?
I'm sure you guys know, but when you're out in the public, you represent Norbrook. And I can't imagine a better group of people to represent Norbrook Central School District. We've heard it in the past, not just this year, but other sports, that our team, win or lose, better to win, but our team, win or lose, you know, they keep their heads high, they treat others with respect, and I can't say enough about our student athletes, especially you guys. So anyway.
One last thing. Thank you. You don't get a chance during the course of the season, but thank you for the support. Vocally, monetarily, everything. There was a night we were going on a trip to Long Island, and that was a big snowstorm, and no questions asked. Rick, Al, you guys, all of you made it happen. Those hotel rooms aren't cheap down in Long Island, so we appreciate it. And thanks for everything. And I just want to also, Dawn Harkenreiter, assistant coach, she's retiring this year. So she, no matter what she has to do, lacrosse, basketball, announcements, she's there for us. So I just want to say thank you to Dawn for your help. And Jason Samowski, assistant coach, thank you. Great group of kids like this. It makes it so much easier for me and for the other coaches. And proud is an understatement. Their character, the way they act, it's all the other coaches talk about. So thanks for making it easy on me, and thank you.
Very good. And Dawn, you're not actually leaving. You're gonna just retire, not teach, but you're still gonna do all the coaching stuff, right? That's the rumor I heard. Thank you, guys. Congratulations once again. Great
Yeah, we gotta get Emily in the picture now. Emily showed up late.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll be back next year.
We already booked it.
They're gonna take it
Oh, she did it?
She wasn't here.
Did Tim have? I don't know if he did.
No, I think they need.
Okay.
Yes, well. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yes.
And she had been.
So the next, before we start the actual agenda, I wanted to take
So.
a second to apologize to the public, to the Board of Education, to the administration, and to the teachers in general. I've been relatively lax, especially during COVID time, about following our policy, making sure that people are not referring directly to staff members, administration, or other students than their own. I haven't been we haven't been following the time limits on comments. At our last board meeting, not this previous one, the one before that, we adopted a revised Board of Education policy 1230. From this point on, the board is renewing its commitment to adhering to the terms of that policy, both with respect to the 3-minute time limit for public comment and with respect to prohibition against discussing individuals, employees, or other students or part of the administration. So I just wanted to take a second to apologize for not taking that as strictly as I need to. Cheryl, you want to just give a few details? And we need to do this before, not this, but this before every meeting so that it's clear.
So each person who comes up to speak will introduce themselves with their name and let us know the topic of what they will be speaking about. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And when we get to 30 seconds, I'll raise my hand for you so you know you only have 30 seconds left. And then when your 3 minutes is up, I'll let you know, and that's you need to stop speaking. And if we have a group of people who are here to discuss the same topic, you need to choose a person to be your representative, and that person will come up and they will have 3 minutes and follow those same rules. So that's how that will go when we get to that section of the meeting.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right.
Before you move on, since I am the vice president, and I do want to apologize to follow up on part of what President Hartswick said. It was not our intentions to err on our procedural procedures, and which I apologize for. However, I will not personally apologize for erring on the side of parents or our students if we violate the policy on time limits. There are ways to extend times by a motion from a board member, but it's important for the students and for the parents to be heard. And if they're waiting an hour to speak, in my personal humble opinion, 3 minutes is not enough time. But that's all I wanted to say.
Well, we'll need to, if we want to bring that up, it's our policy for 3 minutes. If as a board, you want to bring it up and look at making it 5 minutes or looking at, but right now the policy is it's always been 3 minutes, but I just wasn't adhering to it. So, all right. So the first part of tonight's meeting is the public hearing on our school budget. So we'll start with, need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any concerns, comments, questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any against? All right. So over to you, Kevin, I think.
So Kevin and I are going to just do a little collaboration around the final presentation. So I'm just started off and then I'm going to lob it over to Kevin. And really a lot of this is review. You've been observing and inputting and recommending and providing suggestions along the way. So welcome to our annual public hearing about our budget development for the 2022-2023 school year. And you'll see that is our mission statement on the bottom. And that's really was our driving force. And when we were developing our budget all along the way. So preparing students to deal effectively with the challenge of an ever-changing society by helping them become humane, critical thinkers, decision makers, and problem solvers. And the next slide is just a reminder to come out and vote. It's on May 17th, Norbrook Middle School Auditorium, noon to 9 p.m. So. The next one are the objectives that really guided our work, our conversations in building our budget. There are 6 objectives: ensuring we support programs that meet the needs of all of our students, supporting the social emotional needs of our students and staff, supporting professional learning and growth of our staff, addressing facilities needs and supporting capital projects, supporting the goals of the Board of Education, and remaining fiscally responsible and compliance with the allowable tax levy. And on the next slide, this really shows our journey. It started in December when we were starting to get the budget numbers. Ashley and Kevin met with administration and department heads and really did an orientation around budget development process. And in January and February, Kevin, Ashley, myself, Caroline, Elliot, our principals and other department heads met numerous times to build this budget over time. What are your needs? What are the resources? What are the programs? Who are our students and what do they need to be successful? What is the staff that we need? So those were just ongoing conversations throughout the months. And there's lots of budget review, speaking with the board and staff, and just seeing, how can we build this in the most effective and fiscally responsible manner. And then there's lots of more numbers coming in and finalizing of the budget. And here we are in May at the budget hearing. And then again, May 17th is the budget vote. All of this is available on board docs and on our website too. So, and this is just the next two slides are beds numbers. It's really just to sort of give you an overview of our population right now and for future planning financially. So you'll see that we have the 69 and 71 and 78 in our high school, and then we have different numbers that are coming up. So we're looking to the future and looking back to help inform our long-term financial planning. And the same with the next slide as well. You'll see we've been declining over time, but there is a bright spot. We're 834 in 2021, 2020, 2021, and in 2021, 2022, we're 842. So those are always good conversations. They're broad strokes of who our student population is or what our student population is. And it helps to inform future budget decisions. Why is there such a decline? Why is there an incline? And really looking deeper in that to find those answers and again, inform our budget, our resources, our staffing, and our programming. And then the next slide, Kevin.
Okay. At our last meeting, our budget development session was April 5th. And at that time, the budget hadn't been adopted and state aid numbers hadn't been available to us. So I thought it'd be good to just take a little bit of a snapshot in time of where we are and what we're looking forward to. So we have three different columns there. Our foundation aid, universal pre-K, BOCES aid for BOCES services, high cost and private access costs for students with special needs, then some what I call categorical aids like technology, software, library and textbooks, along with transportation, aid on building projects, and an aid for high tax. So when we looked at the district last year in March of 2021, there was a projection of $4.2 million in state aid. Now, during the summer, the state goes through, reviews those numbers, fine tunes them, and then comes out with preliminary numbers in January. So you can see from 4.2, they projected us to be slightly over $4 million. So when we're putting a budget together, one of the things is there's this windfall of state aid coming out the school districts. But when you compare it to the prior years, that windfall may not actually be there. Because looking between the projections in March of last year and January, that's a $154,000 decrease. So when people ask me, well, you got $326,000 in state aid, how come your revenue didn't go up that amount? It really doesn't represent the true picture. And that's why I put this snapshot in here. So when we look at our aid that was presented in April of 2022, our revenues at $4.3 million. So it's really only $171 million in additional aid, not the 326 or so that was advertised in the newspaper. So we're being transparent. We're telling people what we're budgeting. And that's one of the reasons why I put this up. So people become informed. The next slide, earlier in the year, when we started our journey, we were looking at a property tax levy. And we had to go through a calculation. What is, based on what's everybody known as the 2% tax cap, what's the actual dollar amounts of revenue that potentially could be raised? So what you're doing is you're looking at last year's tax levy, and then New York State Department of Tax and Finance gives you an accommodation for growth in the community. So that number comes from them. So we had a 1% growth in our property and property values. You take that into consideration and also look at what's your debt service out there and how much, what is the net after they give you state aid? They take that into consideration because they don't want you to double tax people. It's something that's taken out at the beginning of the calculation process and then added back in based on your next year's debt service schedules. So looking at those numbers and then multiplying, even though inflation is more than 2%, we're limited to 2%. So we do the math, we look at our upcoming debt service schedules and state aid, and based on the calculation, in theory, you could go up to a maximum of 2.97% on your tax levy without having to have 60% or more to pass your budget. So it's something to keep in mind based on need. We're all out there, we know inflation's up 4, 5, 6, 7%, but we're also conscious of that and we're trying to keep this rate as low as possible. So the next thing we look at as part of a district is what kind of revenues are there from our perspective that we know that's coming in there. We have various items like real property tax items. That's actually the tax levy. Looking at other tax items, star reimbursement. Unfortunately, some people don't always pay on time, so there's penalties or interest afforded to that. That's collected by the school district. Charges for services. We charge other schools and other communities for health services. And we have a small amount of money. One of the other conversations we recently had was the cell tower. That's approximately $50,000. That's also in there in charges for services. The use of money and property, that's basically when we invest our money. Interest rates are so low, we're not really making a large return on our investments. We do get some money, but that's something that we also take into consideration putting a budget together. Miscellaneous.
So in the income, Kevin, that cell phone tower is still in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe the current agreement expires in October of 2023.
Yeah.
So we have one more.
Oh, right,
One more
okay.
year on that, yes. Miscellaneous deals with refunds from our local BOCES for our service for prior services. State aid, we talked a little bit about that on an earlier page. Federal aid, we do get some reimbursement for Medicaid assistance for some of our students. And then interfund transfer, there's some additional money that is returned to the district over a period of time for bonds that I believe were from 2015, and that money will run out approximately $9,000 in 2026. So we look at our overall revenue picture, we make some adjustments when things just aren't materializing, and if there is an opportunity to increase, we'll also increase those numbers as in with state aid and some of the other services. So looking overall, for a proposed real property tax levy increase, we're looking at 1.83%, which is $464,407. Even though based on calculations, we could go up to 2.97, but we're trying to be as concerned with the community members and the people that pay taxes, as well as what's going to help build a good educational program. The next slide is a snapshot of some of the things that we've talked about over the last 5 or so budget development sessions. Looking at the Board of Education and their dealings with the district clerk's office, the district meeting, where part of the district meeting is the annual budget vote and Board of Education member election. Central administration, working with the superintendent, the deputy superintendent, and assistant superintendent for instructional technology and facility. The finance area, that's the business administration department, your auditing, treasurer, tax collection, and purchasing. All the various things that are going on within the business office to help the school run efficiently and get the services that we need to the various areas. The staff deals with your legal, your personnel, and public information. Central services, this is getting into the capital portion of it, which is the operation of our buildings, the maintenance of our buildings, our staff, our fuel, our utilities, our electricity, all the important things that we need to run just like every other business does. There's special items dealing with district insurance, school association dues, and BOCES administrative services. And that's something that was touched on back in April when we had the BOCES presentation that the board voted on. Administration and improvement, that's really supervision, the principal's office, and professional development. Teaching regular school, that's really all the activities that go on pre-K through 12th grade. That's teaching, that's BOCES services, that's textbooks, that's material and supplies, and all the things that the students need in the particular classroom. Programs for students with disabilities, that's OT, PT, BOCES, career and tech development programs, and all the services that our students need to get a good quality education. Instructional media, dealing with your library, your computer-assisted instruction. Pupil personnel services, guidance department, school psychologists, health services, co-curricular, sports, and after-school activities. That's also taken into consideration for a well-rounded program. Student bus transportation. Now that's both public and non-public schools, and for all the services, even in students that go on a field trip or they go to an athletic event, that's part of the cost of operating our schools. We spoke earlier about employee benefits, teacher retirement system, employee retirement system, social security, workers' compensation, all things that are required by law to have. It also includes your health insurance and dental insurance. And then debt service, outstanding bond issues, principal and interest, as well as energy performance contract that the district is paying and working with over many years. The energy performance contract, I believe, is scheduled to expire in 2026. So that's really kind of around the corner. Interfund transfers, we also put money for a capital outlay for various projects that we go on. Something else we're introducing now is the funding of the repair reserve, like the board's direction, and also a small dollar amount to supplement the school lunch program. So all in all, looking at it, the increases are $941,453, which represents a 2.97% increase in spending. Again, well below the cost of inflation. As we all know, things are going up. We also present the budget as part of the requirement in the three-part component. Now, the categories I just went over, they're all part of the administrative, program, and capital. So we break this down and we give people an idea of where we're spending our money. As you can see, and the next slide kind of gives you a big overview. It's a little bit of a pie chart. 74% of our costs go directly to the classroom for students. Now, that doesn't mean the administration and the capital portion don't. They also support students, even though you may not realize that. Having the buildings, having people coming in and cleaning, making sure things are sanitized for students to come in and learn. That's all very important, but we classify that in a different way. And this is all determined by the state education department and the controller's office, not the school district. So again, they're all very important, supporting team activities to help our students learn. So the administrative portion is the smallest, but again, it's not just people, it's things like insurance, it's things like workers' compensation, coverage, and various things, BOCES services that all support our programs, not just people. Now, the next slide, please. Putting the budget together, we have a proposed revenue of $31,095,722. We have proposed to help balance our expenditures of $32,656,404, $1,560,682. Now that is a slight increase over the current year of approximately $422,000. Again, trying to keep the tax rate as low as possible. And that money will come from and making sure we comply with the 4% unappropriated fund balance. So we stay in compliance with the state and the controller's office. So that will help, again, take and alleviate some of the requirements of the tax levy off the taxpayer. Now, if for some reason the vote isn't successful and the board needs to look at a contingency budget, the next slide kind of looks at where we would be. We'd have to make approximately $324,000 in reductions. Now, this will all be based on education law and driven by the state. We'd have to look at the elimination of all our equipment items. We'd have to look at the elimination of what would be considered non-essential student supplies, potentially look at sport teams or teaching positions or other items to meet the contingency budget cap and how that's calculated. So those are all things that need to be taken into consideration.
Just so I remember correctly, I mean, they don't just tell us how much we, or it's not that they tell us, but they don't, we don't just identify the amount of money we have to find. They give us specific things that have to be cut.
Yes, and that's why I said equipment. It's a specific thing that needs to be cut. You wouldn't be able to, within any particular department, have.
Right, right.
Okay, which could be a problem. Where the school supplies for students various instruction material, parents or, guardians may have to bring those in from home. There are a number of opinions. It's a book that's probably a couple of inches thick. And we would have to review that and look at various items and make those types of reductions in services. One of which would also be, unfortunately, not to disappoint certain people, you wouldn't be able to do some of your capital outlay because that is capital work, and that also requires voter approval. So unfortunately, there'd be some, disappointment and reductions that we would have to make to comply with the contingency budget. If the budget is defeated, there is an opportunity to go out a second time in June. The board could put the same budget up. They can make some revisions or some recommendations, but this is all just hypothetical. But again, it's a difference of approximately 1% in the overall budget. So it would have a minimum impact. The next slide deals with the Board of Education positions that are up there. We currently have the 2 candidates for the 3 slots. So I wish everybody the best of luck as they run for their board position. And I would just like to thank everybody for, participating. And if there's any particular questions regarding the annual public hearing, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
Yeah, before we open this up, I'd just like to, the entire district, this budget had to be between, are we in COVID? Are we out of COVID? Are we masking? Are we not masking? And then you've got, it's only the second year of pre-K and we already had to go to a 3rd section. And inflation, inflation. I'm sure you took a shot at it, but right now, no one really knows where inflation's going to leave us. If oil prices continue to rise. So I know a lot of thought went into this from everybody looking at what they really need for next year. So my thanks to everybody. So any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, don't run out on us, Kevin.
You got me one step closer to the door.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that you were making a quick exit there too, buddy. So do we have any questions? I'll open it for questions regarding the budget from the audience. Anything or anything online?
Nothing online.
Nothing online, anything? Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any concerns about it? All in favor? Aye. Jesus. Any against? All right, good. Consent agenda. Anything before open it for motion? Anything anybody wants pulled off? No. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second? Is there any comments or questions about the items around here? My only question, and I should know this, but the 2 positions, the appointments there, are they replacing somebody that we lost?
The volunteers
The appointments,
for meetings.
maintenance helper.
Yes.
And, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from anybody? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. All right, now we will open for public comments and questions.
Hey, everybody. My name is Devin White. You guys have all gotten email from me that I'm sure you're tired of getting. So instead of going over all that stuff or complaining about the bullying issue. I just figured I would offer an idea that may help in some way, not, because you guys said at the last meeting that your job is policy and not going into the actual schools and doing any of the consequences or any of those things. So a lot of the kids are seeing things that are, they don't see anything getting done, so they've stopped reporting things. So my idea was maybe to have each building of staff along with their social worker, psychologist, those people, and get together and come up with an actual policy that is age appropriate and grade level appropriate for each grade, for a first consequence, a second consequence, a third consequence for each time there is a recurring bullying issue, and then apply it to each student in that grade level and notify parents each time a kid bullies us. Because the number of times my child reported to the middle school office, I only got called 2 or 3 times. And the number of times that they went down there that they've told me about is by far more than that. And as a parent, there's no information really on the website for what DASA is, how to file DASA reports, where to even go for that kind of thing. There was nowhere for us to look for this kind of stuff. So I didn't even know it existed until we were already out of the middle school and we were in remote learning. So we weren't even in contact with the student that was causing my child issues. But if there's a set guideline for this child has been called out for bullying the same student over and over again, and it's consequence 1, consequence 2, consequence 3, but for age kids are, you know, by far just learning how to interact with other children. But once they get up into the higher grade levels, we're at a point where they really should know better. And they shouldn't be, the level of stuff that's going on should not be happening. Hate speech shouldn't be shouted at kids in classrooms or in the hallways, or kids having tinfoil thrown at them in the cafeteria and being told by the staff that, oh, they do that to everybody. That kind of thing shouldn't be happening. So that was just my own 2 cents. What I thought maybe a change in policy that could be done at your level that you guys could do.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I'm
That was
good.
my way to.
That was all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could.
We could go to the podium.
Because we have to, the thing is, because we change our thing to record everything and put it online, so you gotta get
Yes,
close
yes,
enough.
I forgot about that part. Okay, I came here specifically for this. My name is Monica Peroni, and I am one of the students' legal guardians. She's a troubled student, true, and I know that bullying is a 2-way street. It takes 2 to tango. Everybody knows that. I think that your suggestion was on par, and it's nothing new. It used to exist.
Can you, I'm sorry.
It
can
used
you-
to
yes,
exist. Sorry.
Thank you.
The previous speaker's suggestion is nothing new, and it used to exist in our school system, and somehow it's gone by the wayside, which is an extreme injustice to everyone K through 12. True that by the high school, they should know better how to be a socially acceptable human being and not speak down to or poorly or to how to treat others, period. Whether it's a student, a family member, an animal. It starts young. And because we've experienced COVID, we've experienced this virtual classroom where they're alone and they're lots of times not being watched, and their social skills, when anything they had went down the tubes. And even when we came back, we were still masked. You cannot, as a child, learn how to interact appropriately if you cannot read people's facial expressions. That is just common sense. Now we have children who are back in school, they are unmasked, and they are mean to each other. Some, it's because it's the way it is in their household. It's all they've ever known. That's how people should be treated. Okay, we can't do anything about their home life necessarily, but we can catch it in school. And we're responsible to make these youngsters decent human beings. We cannot go out into the world being cruel. The world is hard enough right now. I just gave myself goosebumps. I am so in pain because of all. Because my child,
30 seconds. Yeah, 30.
my child is suffering immensely. Now I'm finding her immediate circle is suffering immensely because they're all pitted against each other. And this school district is not addressing this in any way, shape, or form. We are far too soft. We need those consequences. These children have to learn that there are consequences to their actions. And I am not going to stop until we find a committee that is willing to take this task on, and I am willing to be a part of it. And anyone that's interested in furthering this can find me. I'm not hard to find. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
That's something different. Sorry. I'm Molly Sager. I know most of you. I'm here because I finally have a chance to come, and I have had 2 kids go to the district. My son is now graduating this year. And I came 2 years ago, and said, can we switch out of IB and do something different? And what I want to come and tell you is, thank you. I know how hard you guys work. I am a teacher myself. I know how hard it is to be a school board member. I can't even imagine at this point in time. But I do know you guys listen, and I think if you listen, I think we'll make changes. And my kids have come out of this district, and I have nothing but good things to say about our administration, times, about our board. When we came to you and said our kids are coming out without college credits because of IB, you took us to heart, and you looked at it and you said, let's switch. And now my son's already going to Liberty University as a sophomore. So 35 credits in, with more opportunities than his sister had, and more opportunities to do things. So I don't know, Cheever, thank you enough. And I just want to come say thank you, because I know how hard it is. And I do know how hard it is to be in high school. I'm a high school teacher. And the kids are hard this year, especially. They are mean. And they need to be retrained. And it's hard because at the same time as administrators, I know in our district, our hands are tied in a lot of ways. As teachers, our hands are tied. I can't do a lot. Because I just won't even get into it. So just know that we appreciate what you do. I mean, it's my family really does. And, it's just been a great, from beginning to end, it's been unbelievable for my kids. So I just wanted to tell you that. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you, Mal.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
By the way, she could go 8 minutes if she wants.
Dr.
Just kidding, just kidding. Anybody else? Anybody? Okay. All right. Let me put my glasses back on. All right. Board president, vice president report. In all honesty, I have nothing since I was not able to make last month's Justice County School Board meeting. Howard, anything?
No. Thank you.
Laura?
Yep. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. I have my team here with me, so you're going to do the bigger reports, but I wanted to excitedly share a walk that I had on Friday, and there are great things happening in district all the time. Do we do everything perfect? Absolutely not. We can do things better, but there are also a lot of great things happening, and I wanted to share just what I spied in a few hours while I was walking through the district. So started out with a village tree planting ceremony at Elm, and they were celebrating Arbor Day, and the village trustees that you saw here, Tim and Mike, were there. and Judith was there. Just celebrating Arbor Day with our pre-K 2 students. I think the second graders were the ones that were able to dig the dirt and plant the tree, although it was sort of planted already. And there was a local arborist there. And so it was just nice to be out in the sunshine, out with one another and celebrating the beautiful world around us. Then at third graders, at Alden, I saw them getting ready for their trip to the golf course, and they weren't putting, they were going to be engaged in various science sessions. And I'm going to circle back and see exactly what they were working on and what they learned. But it was a flurry of excitement within the hallways of Alden getting ready to go. Then, and also in Alden, there were the beautiful bulletin boards promoting kindness throughout the building. Then I came to the middle school and there's a big truck and a shed outside and it's being delivered from Mrs. Petrosino's garden, which is going to be developed right outside the district and middle school front door, the entrance there. So you'll see slowly fence going up and gardening happening. It's a partnership with the 4-H and Mrs. Petrosino in her class. And so the shed is set and ready to be stocked with tools and seeds and soil and whatever they need. A community breakfast was also happening at the middle school. So if you went into the staff room, you could get some delectable delights for breakfast that were actually provided by the central office, but it is a rotating event where the middle school teachers and staff bring in breakfast or brunch or lunch for the entire building. So it's a sort of a community building event and very popular. And actually it's becoming a little competitive. Who's bringing the best? So central office, we'll have to I spy and see what we have to bring next time. Then I was walking in the high school and I walked into the music room and there was one of our students conducting the high school band with their teacher next to her, mentoring and guiding her in conducting. And she is going to graduate this year, right? And go off to music school with that. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I just loved that the student was conducting and her peers were listening and watching and performing under her leadership. Also, I walked into the high school and there in Miss Kring's class were students creating beautiful clay vases that they were forming, and then they were going to be glazed and painted. I believe some of them were going to be gifts and others were just going to keep them and put them in their rooms. Then I walked again a few doors down and there was Deputy Freer, our own Deputy Freer, discussing law enforcement with high school students in Mr. Morris's class. So he did, I think, maybe 5 or 6 classes that day, sharing who he is, what he does, what you need to do, if that's the path you want to take. And students were able to ask questions, what if I do this? Or what if I see this? Or what do I do when this happens? And he's just, cool, calm, collective, informative, and just a great presence here in our district. So it's nice to see him there. And then when you walk into the high school, you see a beautiful mural that our Miss Callie McGuire created. And I've been tweeting it out over time because it was just a plain canvas above the entranceway when you first walk in. And then it was penciled in with a design. We weren't sure exactly where it was going to go, but she has finally signed it. So I'm assuming that it is complete and it is gorgeous. And then lastly, I have under this table the PTO fundraiser. My mom is not in state, so I will be able to keep this for myself. But PTO is doing a fundraiser for Mother's Day, and the plants are just gorgeous. So I just wanted to share all the amazing things that are happening in just a few hours within one school day.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Let's see. Next.
I have one question on the superintendent report.
Sure.
May 17th is open house at Alden. But it's kind of like the same time as the board meeting. If we miss the ice cream.
Under be deliveries.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think like Alden and come here.
no, you can come whenever you want. The ice cream will have been sitting there. But, you can always drink ice cream. There's nothing wrong with that.
And the National Junior Honors Society, did that get moved to next? Okay.
Oh, it's not this week?
No.
No,
What do I
I
have here?
switched it now.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness.
I just
It
wanted to make double.
was the same night as Dutchess County School Board. I thought I was gonna have to miss that again. Okay.
It's the 12th now.
Oh, great.
And this is a very special month. Every month, I think every month should be appreciation for our staff and our leadership and our nurses. So May is teacher appreciation. It's week right now, but I always say month because it should be full year, but we can celebrate all month. School Principals Day was on Sunday, so thank you for your leadership and your fellow principals. National Nurses Day is on May 6th. So lots to celebrate. It's always year round we want to celebrate, but it's nice to just highlight all of you for all the great things that you do. So thank you.
I think they actually do have just a National School Nurses Day.
Yeah.
That's like the fall, like next Thursday, only because my kid's a frequent flyer, I have to get to school or something, but it's like May is Nurses Month, so that's great that you.
So we'll get 2 bouquets.
Yes. Maybe I can get her like a gift card.
Jeez. All right. You're next, I think.
Me, yeah. All right. So as you know, we've been working with the Yale Ruler project all year so far. And now we're working on our next steps for tracking social and emotional data and making instructional changes, as well as informing professional development programming for students. So we're looking into social emotional learning platforms. Currently, we've spoken to representatives from Panorama, Branching Minds, Second Step, and sweetheartsandheroes.com, all on the recommendation of some local school districts as well.
Carolyn, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. That's not something I hear often, but sure. So we will be able to track interventions and monitor progress. We have a meeting on Thursday where we will be looking into Panorama and Branching Minds to compare their products. We are particularly attracted to their products because in addition to social and emotional screeners, data collection, intervention tracking, they also have similar structures for attendance, behavior, and academics as well. So it could become sort of a one-stop shop in terms of looking at the whole child, which is something that we are really interested in being able to do, instead of looking at multiple different platforms as we have right now. So we're really excited about that. We hope to be moving forward with that in the near future when making a decision. So our principals are working with a district-wide conversation around mathematics in conjunction with Victoria Curry. So currently they're talking about different content area for math, current practices, as well as some of the perceptive data and methodologies included in our math education. So this will be something that we will be able to compare in the future as we move forward. As we move forward with the Eureka Math program, there will be some data points that we'll be able to compare over time in terms of perceptive data and whatnot. So we have the Learning Technology Grant through PNW BOCES. That is a consortium grant. And we have 4 participants from our teaching and administrative staff who will be attending a full-day workshop on the 16th of May. And also from data and technology, we have the end of the year snapshot, the diagnostic snapshot for P12 students will be set up in the next few weeks. This will provide us end-term data so that we can look at growth over time throughout the school year. Currently, the PPS staff is being trained on the New York State alternate assessment for students with disabilities. So we will be doing some training this week, and then we will be rolling out the NISA for a few students in district in the coming weeks. We would like to remind all parents of students with disabilities to please participate in our survey from the PPS office regarding parent communication. We will not see anyone's individual results. We get disaggregated information from SUNY Potsdam. So we will only receive it in summary form, but aside from it being a requirement of the state of New York from state ed, this helps us to improve our practices within the department. So it is very important for us that we get your input.
Caroline, did they send that out more than once, or is it once, like 3 months ago, and then that's it?
No, we've sent it out a couple
I
of
just wanna make
times.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to be sending it out again. The problem is that there's a unique PIN form per family. So it's hard to do like an email blast or anything like that because it has to have a particular PIN form for people to use.
Okay.
So we are giving the information at the actual annual review meetings. We did send information out a bit ago. We'll give it out at the annual reviews. We will continue to email folks. But just a reminder that it is important. I know it does take a little bit of time. If a parent has multiple children in the district, they can only reply once. So they can mark that they have multiple students, but they can only reply once. So just something to keep in mind. Again, this has been a particularly challenging year in terms of being able to ensure that all of our students are receiving the necessary supports. We've been working extremely hard. We've hosted 412 meetings to date this year. So it's been a very busy year in the PPS office. Additionally, I've been working with the regional associate for special education in this area to advocate for preschool programming. What we're finding is that right now preschool folks are having a particular challenge finding evaluators. So we as the district have stepped in to evaluate those students. And in addition to that, even once the evaluations and recommendations are in hand, they're having a grave difficulty in finding programming for preschool students. So we are advocating for some of the procedures to change so that school districts can step in and help support some of our youngest learners in the community. Currently that goes through the county. So we're trying to find different avenues to be able to support them in their work. This past week, the administrative team took some time during our meeting to send out index card size notes of gratitude to some employees, just to say thank you. All the times we think to say thank you, but maybe don't take the time to actually just pen a little note. So we actually took time to do that. And just to bring awareness to the board, we have so many teaching positions open right now. And our secondary principals worked with our elementary principals, and they have set a very rigorous interview schedule over the next few weeks so that they will be able to hopefully have a finalist candidate for the board for each of those positions by the first meeting in June. So they are working hard. They have demo lessons penciled into the calendar and everything ready to go. As I mentioned previous meetings, we have a family university set up for May 19th. So we have speakers from James's Warriors for In Support of Mental Health Awareness Month. We will also be hearing from Beth Harris from the law firm of Shaw Perelson regarding DASA for families. We will have Kim Dangerfield here from the Grace Smith House talking about anti-bullying, and Kim Martyr from the Dutchess County Pride Center to speak about the importance of supporting our LGBTQ community.
Do we record these? Or are we allowed to record them?
Yeah, so I can tell you that I know for certain that the keynote James's Warriors, they are not able to record because of the content of it. They have to be present whenever this presentation is done. So for insurance purposes, there is a therapist that works with this person to do these presentations, so we can't record those. We actually asked when they were coming into the school, and we're unable to do that for insurance purposes.
And that's for all grades. That's the whole.
That is for anyone. Yeah, I mean, so it's for parents to bring their children to whatever they feel is appropriate for them as parents to sit and learn, or for them to learn as a family.
Okay.
So that's.
But is the law, I'm gonna get in trouble, but is the lawyer part of this stuff like in English, or is it lawyer talk?
I did speak to Beth and asked her to make it family friendly.
Okay.
So that it's very clear language that's accessible for folks to understand.
Okay, I mean, the lawyer or legal part is important, but if no one can understand sort of what's being said, Okay.
And Caroline, do you have, I mean, it's really up to each individual family, I suppose, whether they want to bring their children. But does the administration have sort of a guideline in terms of what ages, if they were to bring children?
Yeah,
what would be
so
appropriate?
the presentation for James's Warriors, that actually has already been presented to our secondary students. I don't think that I, as a parent, would bring my younger child, but I think it's an opportunity to speak about the topic.
Okay, so maybe, do you think we could send out a communication?
Yeah.
With guidelines, yeah. And then is there any opportunity for maybe partnering with the PTO or, I don't know, National Honor Society or for some childcare? So maybe more parents could attend?
Yeah, we have done that in the past where we've had students like have a movie night. It hasn't typically been well attended, but we can offer it, we can try.
What movie are you showing?
Yeah.
Sound of Music, come on. All right.
Caroline, do we plan on having the last 2 seminars during the school day as well, to touch more students than just having a family night?
So we are having, and Rick, you can back me up here. We are having a presentation from Kate, the Dutchess County Council for Addiction Prevention and Education,
May 20th in the middle school and high school.
May 20th. And that is blind spots about risk behavior in general. We have the Grace Smith House coming to speak to the secondary students as well.
17th.
May 17th. And then we reached out to Glisten to have them come speak, and they are unavailable till the fall. They don't have anyone available to come.
I just want to touch as many students as I can with the anti-bullying.
Yes, absolutely. So that will be the Grace Smith House. So they will be coming to do that on May 17th.
And that's middle school and high school.
Yes, and they've already been to all of them.
So Chris and Chris, I like this, it works out well. The MEF, would they fund, if we said we're going to put together a specific project, not, pointed at anyone or any student or any, specifics, but if we were going to, we want to rewrite our code of conduct, we want to rewrite, as was suggested, we want to make, look at the scale of behavior. Would MEF fund something like that, do you think? I mean, I don't know how we would hire, the hard part is you got everybody basically covering 2 jobs. And then, and we have no money left in the budget. But I don't know if they would do that or
I mean,
not.
I can't talk about the current,
Right.
MEF, but when I was president, I spoke to the previous administration numerous times about doing an anti-bullying program, having speakers come in, having a whole new, kind of spend the money around it as far as putting up signs and doing everything else, and that part of it as a program.
Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be cost on the administration side in
Yep.
certain areas, but that would be the bulk of it, is having someone come in and do public speaking and.
But even bigger than just that, I mean, how do you interact with teachers? Get back to some of the social behavior that you can't
It
stand
needs to be
up and
ongoing.
scream at
It
somebody.
can't just be a 1 seminar.
Right.
It needs to
Right.
be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If
a
we could,
once a month type of program. I know there's a lot going on, but I think it's important.
I think we ought to, maybe we should sit, or maybe you can talk to the MEF
Well,
folks.
I know at our last meeting,
Because-
the president, she does want to support, and there's, I don't know if I can say
Well,
right
I
now
mean,
the
if-
amount, but the amount,
Yeah.
there's a good amount of
Yeah.
money.
I mean, if we can get help, especially knowledgeable help about what the best districts are doing, maybe, and they'll help us fund it or finance it or however you describe it.
No, I think absolutely. I think at this point, they're waiting for sort of the administration to
When is the next MEF meeting? It's not
I think
done
it's
for
gonna
this
be
year,
the
is it?
same, no, May, we have a meeting in May,
Okay.
I believe it might be May 19th,
Okay,
which is the
yeah, maybe
Family
if
University.
you can talk to them and then come back.
Mary, can the
Let us know.
PTO do anything with that, or that's a conflict of interest?
No, I mean, well, I don't know if there's probably some SED rule that says if you have a P at the beginning of your name, you can't do something.
Okay.
But I don't know is the PTO has funding that,
Okay.
you know, but maybe they could help us with a piece of it.
And that's like the I was just looking on the website, the student discipline code, because there's the code of conduct and the student discipline code, is that, I wonder also if that's posted on each other, I've never looked, like on Arlington's website, on other schools' websites, just to see what their scale looks like versus.
But if we could have somebody come in and give us best practices. Anyway, talk to them and then based on what you come back with, we'll see what else we can do. Anyway, sorry, Carolyn.
That's okay. So we've also been working on exactly what one of the Chris's said about like a full scale plan that will be more like a curriculum scope for the entire year, not just bringing in speakers and whatnot. And some of that also will be what is tracked through this platform that we're looking, either through Param or through Branching
Are you
Minds.
gonna ask me to tell you to speak up?
Yeah.
You doing that on
I
purpose?
have a headache, so maybe that's why I'm speaking. I don't know. That's maybe why I'm speaking quietly. But I will fix that. So as I had mentioned last time, the first grade writers are going to embark on their restaurant walk on May 12th. So they're going to be sampling little delicacies from the diner, the deli, and Babette's. And then they will be writing some persuasive essays about which one they liked the best. So they're going to get their inspiration right here from the village of Norbrook. So that's super exciting. We also have the IBM engineers that will be working with Alden Place students during the engineering days. Alden Place's date is May 11th. And in addition to that, Alden Place is very grateful for the 3 benches that have been installed in front of the Alden Place, creating a more welcoming feel to their entry. And a shout out and thank you to the PTO as they have set up staff appreciation days in each of our buildings. So that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
The district-wide conversation with the teachers around mathematics, is that something that they do every year, or is there like kind of flags for this year that they're is it a pandemic or something?
No, it's actually because we have made the decision to move to the Eureka Math.
That's okay.
Yep. So because of that, we're looking to get a baseline for methodologies and some of the content methodologies and just perceptive data, so that when fully immersed in the Eureka product and process, then we'll be able to get some measurable data as to, are we doing more student-centered activities using like these evidence-based approaches to teaching math? Have we expanded teacher toolbox at all? Understanding of the content, the student outcomes, all of that stuff. So this is really more just getting a baseline, and then it will be our baseline that as we make this transition to an actual P12 math, like fully articulated math curriculum, we'll be able to see the growth over time. Is what we're hoping.
I have one thing. I know it's not on your report, but could you give a little update on the summer scholars?
Yes, so I just submitted for posting for our teachers, and a survey is going out tomorrow to get student participation.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything else? All right, Elliot?
Good evening. Just a couple of quick hits. The board has my report. So from an instructional technology perspective, we're working on some revisions to the technology plan that we sent to the state. Appreciate Carolyn's help with the special ed component. Laura helped us with some of our homeless student data. Kevin helped me with some of the financials. So thank you to everybody who's been contributing to the process. We did some pretty extensive antivirus updates to the entire network, including our end user devices and our network equipment. Our voice over IP phone system upgrades are still in progress. We have a walkthrough with BOCES this Friday to plan the logistics of the actual installations, and John's going to help us with his maintenance team with that as well. We're working on completing our digital equity survey. So just as a reminder, for those that may not remember, the state mandated us to survey every single student and family to see what their level of access is to technology, both in school and at home. We've given devices to every student, but their access at home does vary from one family to the next. And so we currently have 81% of our families have responded, which is fantastic, but we're going to push for 100%. So our building principals and their staff are going to help us reach out to those families that just have not responded to inquiry to get their feedback. And this is one of those things where if you're using a technology platform like email to ask people how accessible technology is at the home, those that don't respond may be suffering some deficit in those areas. So we're going to make some phone calls. We're going to send backpack letters home if we have to. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we understand exactly how connected our students are. The last 2 years taught us that at-home connectivity can be critical in times of extreme struggle. So not that we want to go back to remote or hybrid learning, but we do want to make sure that we stay cognizant of who has access at home and who doesn't. And the state has told us that their intent with this information is to really upgrade the infrastructure across the entirety of New York State in terms of broadband internet connectivity. So it seems like a lofty goal in some rural areas, but that's what their intent is with this information.
Even for us, I mean, I don't think we have fiber in a local.
No, one of the biggest struggles we had actually with the pandemic for our remote learners was that some areas are not serviced by high-speed internet, by cable or fiber. And even cellular connectivity gets sparse when you're out in the farmlands and you have hundreds of acres of farmlands and no cell towers with enough proximity to give a saturated signal.
So somebody's going to pay for it, or somebody's going to tell us we need to go pay for it?
That's a great question, Mr. President. I wish I had an answer. But we'll see. I mean, it's as skeptical as we can be when it comes to those really big infrastructure questions. At least the state's starting to do the legwork to figure it out. We do appreciate that. So Mr. Mullins is here tonight to speak about facilities in a little bit more detail. So I'll just give some high-level information. We're doing a lot of work outdoors. Caroline spoke to the upgrades to the Alden entryway. John's team was really instrumental in making that happen. Mr. Mullins has also been spending a lot of time teaching our facility staff how to do trades work. I mean, a lot of the work that's happening in our hopefully new superintendent suite for next year is being done by our staff. So this is work that just 6 months ago required outside contractors and BOCES support. And Mr. Mullins has done a great job of teaching our team how to do some of that work in-house, which saves the district money. It also builds capacity and skill sets within our own staff, which we very much appreciate. I know they very much appreciate it, and they are excited to share their progress incrementally as it's happening. So thank you, John, for the time you're spending to coach up our team. We very much appreciate that. We're going to be working to finish up the Elm Drive Elementary playground area. So that's something that's been, we started in the fall, winter happened, we had to put it on hold. But John's been in touch with the vendors that are supporting that project as recently as today to make that work happen in the next couple of weeks. And again, I know Mr. Hartswick, you touched on the commodities and inflation concerns as Kevin and Laura were speaking to the budget planning. We are still running our heating plants, and it's into the month of May. So we're experiencing sometimes 30-degree temperature swings from night to day, which means we're running heat in the morning and opening windows in the afternoon, but we do have to maintain minimum temperatures. We do want our people to be comfortable. It is having a budgetary impact, and Kevin's been very helpful with helping us find the money we need to keep the boilers full. But it will be a challenge that we will just keep doing our best to manage going into next year. And again, kudos to John for really staying on top of our boiler plants and running them when we have to, and making sure we're not running them when we don't have to. So thank you, John, for staying on top of that as well. In terms of capital project updates, no real changes to the projects in progress in terms of the high school vestibule. That is still pending completion. I'm trying to get the architects on site to do that walkthrough to figure out just the final pieces. We're working with the business office to get everybody paid on that project. I'll have to do some updated accounting. I believe I may have a change order to bring to the board at our next meeting to just move some money from one vendor contract to another in terms of some of the support work from the major construction. But I'll have that together hopefully by the next board meeting. The one project that I do want to address is at our last board meeting, I presented two options for the Board of Education to consider when it came to the Elm Drive Elementary Secure Vestibule intended project. If you remember, that was something that we allocated $175,000 to, and in very, very broad numbers, our estimation is that it would cost twice as much if we did it as its own project. So if you remember, we discussed just what would it cost us to close this project out and revisit that scope of work as part of a larger capital project that would affect more than just that little sector of that building. And so the cost accounting that came back from the architectural firm is $945. So for the low price of $945, we can close this project out of the state and revisit that scope of work, the intended purpose of that work with our new firm. And I say it that way because our new firm may have a different idea for how to meet the needs that this project is intended to meet, given the other needs of that building in a way that may be more cost effective for the district. So I recommend paying the $945. If the board is comfortable with that, we'll move forward and close that project and revisit it with the greater scope of work that we look at in our next wave of capital.
Do we have to close it before we talk to our new team to see if they have any alternate plans or what they can think, or can we?
Well, it's kind of like closing it doesn't, it just means we're kind of like walking away from it, right? So we're paying, the firm that we had previously did design work, they did submittal work. So this 945 just quantifies what they've already done. We've had cursory conversations with the new firm. They actually were on site yesterday completing their 4-building walkthrough with John. So they have now put eyes on every single building and system at least once. They will be coming back for a deeper dive in the areas they feel they need more information. They're also going to come back to have very intentional meetings with every building principal and some of our central administrators to get feedback on what we need. But we've, in those conversations, already discussed some other options to meet the needs of what that project was designed to do. I do want to sit with Mr. Sotero and the rest of the administration who was here at the time to really understand the ADA component, the security component, and see if we can't hit those targets in a different way, or maybe in a way that addresses more than just that piece of the building.
My biggest question is why it doubles, but I guess we'll never know.
I mean, I have some estimates of escalation, but yeah, it was just a rough time. And when I called the state to ask if it was okay to do this, we're not the only ones in this boat that are experiencing excessive escalation and are just looking to revisit projects at a later date.
I have a question. The cell tower thing, did they ever get back to you with them? It was like a mock-up or something?
I have a sketch I can share.
You don't have to, because it's not on here, I was just wondering, it popped into my head.
No, that's fine. They actually gave us a sketch and it's,
I know they were saying they needed to know by like April, like.
But why didn't we just hear that it's not gonna, the contract doesn't run out for like 2 years?
But they start almost a year in advance preparation, because if we say no, they have to, but they need that much lead time to prep the next site.
So they needed an answer yesterday,
Yeah.
but yet when we asked for the.
They gave us a sketch. I can send it out. I don't think I have it.
That's okay, you don't have to.
Oh, here it is. Existing approximate location. I want to say, yeah, they gave us a sketch that only really shows the existing stuff. It doesn't really illustrate what the new footprint would be, but it would be contained within, I'll throw it up on the screen really quick for the board.
They've been told that we're not making a decision on whether that stays or goes until they give us, this is what it's gonna look like, right?
That's correct. I reached out to them again yesterday to let them know that, and we're dealing with a broker who's dealing with AT&T for us, but this is, again, they're just showing us where the existing stuff is, and it's supposed to be contained within the same footprint. I've asked for more detail. I'm trying to get that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if the trunk of the thing is now 20 feet, you know, it still fits in the thing, but it's 20 feet round and 300 feet in the air. I mean, anyway, we need to know. So if they've got some drop dead date, they better hustle it up.
I will continue to follow up.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is it okay to ask a question about that?
No, I mean, we have
Can you tell me where that map is? Like, where
Oh,
is it?
the maintenance shed, if you go down the hill, there's a maintenance shed, there's a cell tower right there.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about. They want to upgrade it to 5G. And it's a different tower and anyway,
And it's radiation on our children.
Well, we don't know that.
yeah, we have no idea. It
I
could be
looked on the
less.
Cancer Society website and it basically said there's no difference.
Yeah,
But that's
not
one,
accurate. So,
All right, all right. Must be something if you can't run it near an airport.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Elliot?
That's all I have.
Oh, are you up next? Rick, oh, thank you.
See how it is.
Yeah, well, I'm always looking at, usually, John talks like he's got maybe some donuts, maybe some, so I was hoping that he was gonna hit it up.
Some treats over there.
Yeah.
So good evening. Thank you for the brief opportunity to report out tonight. Again, I will be brief, but a lot's happening at the high school naturally as we're approaching the end of yet another school year. But I promise just to highlight a few things. I know you have my report, but in terms of teacher curriculum work, you have heard me report out previously about our ongoing blended learning training from that our core teachers are receiving from Duchess Bosse's. So just quickly to highlight again, our social studies, English, math, and science teachers are working with Duchess Bosse's on blended learning training. So blended learning combines classroom learning with online learning, in which students can in part control the time, pace, and place of their learning. This training has been going very well. The feedback from our teachers have been fantastic. As a matter of fact, our science teachers have asked for additional training. So you know that there's really positive PD happening when teachers are asking for them to come back. So it's really exciting stuff. Caroline reported out about math, so I won't be repetitive and talk about that. Next on my report is the continuation of curriculum maps. Again, you may have heard me talk a lot about our curriculum maps as they are always evolving, but our teachers continue to align our maps with unit plans, state standards, and assessments for each of the courses that they teach. And again, a lot of good work is happening with our maps and our unit plans. Caroline also talked about our roller work, so I'm going to skip that. Also here, we have AP exams currently happening this week, next week. Final exams are right around the corner. Next, since it's been a few meetings since I've been here, I just wanted to highlight a few things. And I apologize again because some of this may be repetitive, but I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize our girls basketball team. So thank you for tonight's presentation for our girls basketball team. Congratulations to Coach Peak, his assistants, our girls basketball players on winning the New York State Class C championship. I think Coach Peak and Mr. Hartwig, you said it earlier, aside from being great basketball players, they are truly great kids. And I'm very thrilled for them because they deserve it. So thank you for the recognition tonight. You may have also mentioned this in previous board meetings, so I apologize again, but I'd like to congratulate our drama club for an outstanding Grease performance. I know that many of you were able to come. So thank you very much for your support, and congratulations to Mr. Meisner, Mr. Dunninger, Mr. Porta, who played a role, and to all of our students. Also, congratulations to our Model UN Club, winning this year's award of distinction for overall committee performance over delegations. That's a huge accomplishment. So congratulations to Mrs. Herring and all of our students. Really, truly impressive. A few weeks ago, we had a very successful college and career fair on April 5th. We had 85 representatives attend, and all of our students had the opportunity to visit tables throughout the college and career fair. So thank you to Mr. Chanowski for organizing that. All of our spring sports are underway and off to a very good start. Mr. Chanowski and Mrs. Prince have met with all of their students for course selections, and we're getting ready to begin for master's scheduling for next year. In a few weeks, we have two of our students that will be attending the Dutchess County Honor Student Breakfast. So congratulations to those two students. Dave Sager and Molly Morris. And as you can see, we have a lot going on under our upcoming events.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I had a couple things. But I know you had the career fair there recently, which is wonderful. I know it's scholarship time, right? Does the guidance counselor, I mean, it's my kids are at Alden, so I don't know, but college is ever increasing, and I know there's a lot of local scholarships. Do the parents receive communication about that, or just the students, or how does that work?
So Mrs. Prince, one of our guidance counselors, oversees that. There are daily announcements about specific scholarship opportunities that are announced pretty much daily over the morning announcements.
Do the parents get that?
Do the parents get that? That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I would have to.
Okay. And then I was also thinking, is it possible to, well, if they're announced daily, then not just the seniors would hear, like the juniors. I mean, thinking ahead, right? By this point in your senior year, it might be difficult to start community service if you've never done so, right? But if you're a sophomore, junior, and you're maybe interested in what it takes to get a scholarship, if the communication goes out to the senior parents, maybe it could also go out to the younger ones, so they can start planning for the future.
We can extend that further. Very level, sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Now, John.
Good afternoon. Going on the facilities report that I gave to you guys. Baseball and softball fields are being maintained, ensure that all the Norbrook athletes play in the home fields instead of being bussed out to other fields. I'm also researching purchasing all the tops to cover the infields for the amount of rain that the infield take a beating. Athletic fields are also being maintained for shot put and district matches and track.
John, could you just speak up a little bit? I'm having trouble.
All worn equipment has been serviced by maintenance and prepared for the season. Preparations are being made for the upcoming cooling season. In other words, servicing the air conditioners, cleaning the filters, inspecting them all. All the mirrors will be installed over summertime for the bathrooms. The middle and high school. We're working with the garden clubs at both schools as part of beautification of the grounds and also for educational purposes. In high school, we assist with the art club in preparing that wall that we always mentioned before. That's completed now. In middle school, we installed all the paper towel dispensers. We moved the flower beds in front of the main entrance as part of the district beautification project. The floor has been installed in the new superintendent's suite and framing of the walls have begun, as Elliot mentioned. Maintenance staff installed all the window shades in the PPS office, as opposed to hiring an outside contractor, which is done in past practice. So we measure them now and we install them ourselves. At all, we installed the 3 new benches outside the main entrance as part of the district beautification project. And preparations are being made to start painting outside sockets. At Elm, we installed all the window shades in the principal's office and the main office, same as the PPS project. And we mulched all flower beds outside the main entrance as part of the district beautification project.
How far do you think we are from finishing the all the playground stuff that got donated?
We're in the process now of getting all the POs together. There's 4 different elements to the project. We got to have a guy dig it out, level it all squared away, and then we're going to put the frames in ourselves, forms for the concrete. Then we have to have the stone company come out, drop the stone off, and then we'll have the concrete guy come in the concrete. And then we got to start assembling everything. So I would say that we ready to go by September. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Okay.
Because now we gotta put it all together, we have to pass it to the concrete, like,
In our, I know, we kind of do and we don't want this present, but how are we doing on not just the oil that we consume, but the price that, I know what the price
I
is.
got a
but-
price the other day on the fuel.
Yeah.
It almost doubled, it's up to $4.31 a gallon. So I used to purchase 10,000 gallons, 5,000 one building, 5,000 another building. In the beginning of the school year, it was like 22,000 for 10,000 gallon load. The last bill I received was like $38,000, and the price just keep going up.
Yeah, I mean, we got to do something, but if we try to do it with a capital project, the price of all that stuff has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
So you're kind of,
I had about 4 separate contractors come out. If the boilers are serviced properly, cleaned properly, and treated properly with the water treatment,
mhm,
that'll definitely save on fuel.
yeah. Well, I'm
More
just,
efficient they'll run. In other words, we're running probably about 25 gallons an hour per building. So we can probably knock that down to 15.
well, I sound like a broken record, but man, you gotta get these preventative maintenance schedules in place, so burners are cleaned same time every year, not just when they, blow up, but we actually clean them.
Yeah.
Treat all the stuff that you gotta treat. Because that's the only way, I mean, right now, I don't see any other way for us to sort of make progress on this. Okay, any questions for John, comments? All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Let's see what we got next. Do we have a motion on accepting $3,500 donation from MEF? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, as always. All in favor? Aye. Any against? All right, next year's calendar. All right, so this is still a draft, right? Everybody else has to approve it first.
Correct. We have our.
Yeah, so like the unions.
Units reviewing.
Okay, do we know when that, like, what's the target for them finishing up?
To the next board
Okay, because
meeting.
it feels, I don't honestly remember, but it feels like we're a little late.
Can I ask a question about this? Because they get asked this a lot, but our overload of snow days, the 2 days, are going to when? Just so you can clarify.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, so the Friday and the Tuesday of Memorial Day weekend is when the
Correct.
extra
I'll
snow.
send another reminder out to you just so that.
No, I know, but I can ask that. I see it on social media. I just figured I'd put it out there.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I feel like the more we hear it and see it in our mailboxes and around the district.
Yeah. Okay. Anything major changing here, like number of snow days dropping? Any questions or comments? It's not really, we're not taking a motion on it right now, but any questions or comments on the calendar? All right. Anything, Jesus, anything else that anybody wants to get on an agenda? Especially between now and the 1st of July when we reorganize. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to go to executive session for pertaining to the employment history of particular employees seeking counsel from school district attorney? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Ooh. Once a meeting, man, you got to do that.
I gotta keep you on your toes, Perry.
You're killing me, man. I'm gonna, well, never mind. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any against?